dream of a classroom where learning is natural? Can we inspire students to lifelong learning? What exactly is the purpose of an education? Inspiring students to be curious, independent, creative, innovative, deep thinking, confident, proactive, collaborative, determined, educated. Rise to the challenge of changing the world. This is teaching. This is learning. This is who we are. Welcome to the Tabletop Inventing Podcast.
John Westrum is the Vice President of Operations at Afinia, a division of Microboards Technology, LLC. John has been instrumental in introducing the Afinia 3D printer into the U.S. market and has a long-term view on products and sales with his 20-plus year tenure as a VP at Microboards. John knows his business inside and out, including the marketing and sales, the support and engineering, as well as the purchasing side. We approached John because we were interested in his views both of maker education as well as his perspective on our core question, what is the purpose of an education?
All right, so we are speaking today with John Westrum from Afinia. He is well acquainted with 3D printing, and we're going to ask him some questions today about education. We're going to jump right in. So what prompted you to look at 3D printing?
So we have done some research in regards to what are some high growth areas. Of course, being in business, we want to try and go somewhere where there's future potential. And there's a lot of buzz, a lot of hype about 3D printing. And so where there's smoke, there's probably fire. And so that's where we started getting into it. And it's been a real joy. It's been a lot of fun.
I would have to agree with you on that. I've come to this party a little bit late, but we are very much enjoying what we see in the maker movement. Particularly education. We got into this because my wife is an educator, and so I want to ask you a few questions related to the education side, and just ask your opinion. I mean, you're a businessman, so we don't expect you to be an educational philosopher, but from the outside, what do you see the role of education, and give us maybe a broad strokes view of education as you see it?
Sure. Well, so education is all about getting children to understand learning, how to learn skills, how to learn philosophy and strategy, and those building blocks to be able to use that in a career or just in anything that they do as adults. And the nice thing about 3D printing is you can use it both as a vocational tool, which is one strand of work you can do in education, but you can also use it as just a supportive tool in history. You can use it in lots of different areas, science in education. But so education itself is just for the preparation of children to understand life, how to deal with life as they get older.
So as kids are growing and learning through our education system, now, I mean, you and I grew up in a system that was probably significantly different than our current students are growing up through. I mean, now a student can get on Wikipedia and they can look 20 IQ points smarter than they may really be. As a business, how do you think that affects what you look for in the education of a person?
Again, I think I've had the benefit over the past couple of years to spend a lot of time with educators and professors in universities that are forming pedagogy and forming curriculum. So I would say is that things probably have changed from when you and I were children, but I think that things are continually changing for the better. Kids regurgitating information out of Wikipedia, that's not really a true measure of intelligence. The intelligence comes from the problem solving, the things that that they are challenges that they're faced with, and from there, with that problem solving that they can gain, then they can do anything. Then they're able to do great on tests. When I was a kid, I did great in geometry, and everybody always said, "Why do you need to know math?" And I said, "Well, it's not about what the actual theorems of geometry that you're going to apply every day, but you're always going to say, if this, then that, which is the basis of geometry. And as long as you can have that if this, then that strategy and philosophy, you can problem solve anything."
I think I would have to agree with that, but I'm biased. I'm a physicist, so I like the mathematical approach to thinking. But I'd like to dive into the heart of what we look at in this podcast, which is what is the purpose of an education? And you have a unique perspective as a businessman selling into education, but also receiving the products of our educational system in a company, hiring new faces and asking them to meet certain needs that you have at Afinia. So as you look at education, and from your perspective, what is the purpose of an education?
To prepare students to be adults, to give them the tools that they can have a career, and or whatever they choose to do in life. But it really is the building blocks for children to have the skills and the abilities to have a career.
So if the metric for education is to prepare students for adulthood or for the future, things that are near and dear to our heart, the maker movement, how do you feel that feeds into that end goal?
Well, the maker movement itself is all about problem solving, and taking a look at what you have available to you, and to make a solution out of it, or to make something, improve something, make something better, and or make some innovation that wasn't there before. Some of the greatest innovators that we've had, I would call the start of the maker movement wasn't recent. It was back many years ago. But one of the greatest makers that I know of is Benjamin Franklin. And Benjamin Franklin, he never patented any of his designs. With bifocals, or with the lightning rod, stuff with all the work that he did with batteries and electricity, all of that stuff he felt that it was necessary to have as public domain, and to share those ideas with everybody so that everybody could learn and improve upon them. And I love that inventor's mentality of taking a look at something that might already be there, making an improvement on, or something that has never been there, and inventing it altogether.
So do you think that making is a part of the DNA maybe of our country,
Oh,
of the United States?
Absolutely. Most of the people that have made this country successful were makers. People that came up with an innovation, new idea, a new approach, a new strategy, a new philosophy, and trying to give the opportunities to children to do that, and open those doors for them in their minds of how they can themselves become innovators, I think is an extremely important thing.
So do you make things?
You know what? I have started making things. Absolutely. I started using some of the CAD software. I'm not an engineer, but I'm a curious person, and I'm an excited person. The last couple of years of dealing with 3D printing and with education specifically have been the best time of my life. I would trade it for the previous 19 years of my career just to have these last 2 years. It's been a really exciting time. dealing with a lot of educators. But yeah, I've started doing a little bit of stuff and trying to teach myself stuff every day. The beauty of that is that you can go online like YouTube. You can teach yourself from YouTube, for hours and hours and hours, and gain skills that you can build upon.
So how does it feel to make something?
Oh, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And I think that when you talk about making something and how it makes you feel great, and the pride that you have when you do that, I think that's really true for students that are at risk. I've got a story about an at-risk student from a vocational high school in Mississippi that he's really liked getting into 3D design and really engaged in school because of that. And he had a model that he had ready and prepared to print, and the school had a very expensive 3D printer and with very expensive filament for this 3D printer, and the budget for the school didn't allow them to have filament at that time when the kid wanted to print his object. So here's this kid that's been a challenging kid, and then now he's really getting into this. He's got this model that he wants to print because he wants to show his mom, he wants to show his friends, he wants to put it in his locker. He goes to the teacher and says, "Hey, can I print this now?" And the teacher has to tell him, "No, I'm sorry, we don't have that capability right now, maybe next time." And so you've got this kid that has went from a very low level to a very high level of excitement, and that he's all of a sudden shot back down to a low level, and now he's at risk again for other things. So having the opportunity to have a low-cost 3D printing in the classroom with the low cost of ownership there gives opportunities for all sorts of kids to be able to do all sorts of things to make. Yeah. So if that kid had that opportunity to take that object home and to put it on his bookshelf or put it on his dresser or put it in his locker, show his friends, show his parents, how much more pride would he have, and how much more drive would that create for him to make the next thing and make the next thing and make the next thing. And each of those things that he makes is a little bit better than the last. The beautiful thing about 3D printing is you can do what's called fast to fail. You want to be able to as you're coming up with this innovation, the first time you do it, it's probably not going to work. And you want to get to that point as quickly as you can so that you can take what you've learned from that failure and start to make it into the solution. And so 3D printing gives you those opportunities.
So it sounds like you were really feeding into this movement, that it feels really good, that you guys are really enjoying yourselves over at Afinia.
Absolutely, and it's from dealing with people like yourself and the other people that are really pushing into this maker movement that have shown real effects with children that we've been able to see and we've been able to be involved with. That's made us feel really good.
Well, John, I don't want to keep you for too much longer. Do you have any final thoughts on education or the maker movement before we wrap this up?
I think we've talked a lot about the maker movement itself, but it's not just about 3D printing. 3D printing is only a small part of the maker movement, which I think is all the other things that are involved with it in regards to using paper stock, card stock, stuff that companies like Fablevision is working on, and other pedagogy leaders like Sylvia Martinez and Gary Stager and Dr. David Thornburg and his wife Norma, and all of the work that's being done of how all of that fits together, and how much it's fun just to kind of follow along and be a part of that. So those are my final thoughts on it. So Afinia, it's easy. Just go to afinia.com. We have an educators page on our website, and we're also on Twitter and Facebook. You can follow us on those areas. And we're in the office as well. We're always kind of surprised that teachers can actually call and talk to us. And our phone number is 888-215-3966. We love to speak to educators. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us for for the Tabletop Inventing Podcast, where we are seeking to answer the question, what is the purpose of an education? You can connect with us on Facebook.com/Tabletop Inventing or on Twitter @TTInvent. To learn more about tabletop inventing, visit our website at www.ttinvent.com. Join us again next time when we will again seek to answer the question, what is the purpose of an education?